So here are my specific questions when it comes to this Israel claim. Why would Israel, whose existence is largely dependent upon the support of the U.S., take out one of the most vocal supporters of Israel and Judaism? Why would they target a confidant of one of the most pro-Israel presidents of all time? Would Israel really risk the further alienation of the American right, literally some of its only lasting supporters in the world, by taking out one of our biggest heroes? And would they do it in a way that internet sleuths can figure out? Because it's either Israel is very stupid or they're extremely cunning and conniving, but I don't understand how they can be both. And I've gone back and forth with some people in my DMs about this. One person said, oh, well, look at this. Look at how much Israel lobbies in our government. Like, look at how much they're trying to influence the media. Look at how many times they're, meeting with commentators, how they were talking to Charlie Kirk and trying to influence what he thinks. Okay, but even if that's true, and even if you have a problem with that, what does that have to do with this? Because do you know how many countries and how many corporations do that? Like, do you know how many of these entities are trying to influence American media? China, Russia are two of the main ones. Iran, another one. And, Charlie was a big critic of Islam, much bigger critic of Islam than he was of Israel. Charlie was a big critic of China. Charlie was a confidant of the president who has been very harsh on Russia. Tell me why there aren't a bunch of theories about those countries' involvement in Charlie's murder. Like, again, ask why it goes back to Israel. Charlie was critical of a lot of things and a lot of people and a lot of countries and a lot of different ideologies. Like, why is it his criticism of one part of what a particular government is doing in the Middle East? Why does that have to be the thing that probably led to his murder? It just doesn't make sense to me. It's not adding up to me. Claim 2. The government is manufacturing the evidence against the current suspect. There's someone named Rob O'Neill. He's the man who killed Osama bin Laden. Thank you, Lord, for that. But he believes that the lone gunman theory is inaccurate. He believes that this guy had help. Subclaim 1. So O'Neill initially calls the 170-yard shot with a 30-06 rifle easy for a sniper or hunter, but later questions why an untrained 22-year-old would take a neck shot, saying, you don't take a neck shot because you missed. He implies the precision hitting Kirk's neck is suspicious for an amateur, suggesting possible training or an alternative explanation. He says that the shot distance is within range for a hunting rifle with a scope. His sniper experience, Rob O'Neill suggests, neck shots are accidental, not intentional for non-professionals. Okay, so he just doesn't think it adds up there. But here's our fact check. It is possible. I wouldn't even go so far as to say plausible. I think that's even like a little bit too much. It's possible, but not conclusive. A 30-06 rifle with a modern scope, as the one that was recovered, can accurately hit a target at about 142 yards. While challenging for an untrained shooter, the suspect did have experience. We know that he trained with his father growing up. There are a lot of pictures with guns. In fact, Wall Street Journal has this picture of the suspect with a very large gun. And so it is totally possible. It's also possible that he was aiming for the head and that he jerked the gun and that he actually missed, that he didn't actually mean to hit him in the neck. And if he had practiced this, if he had done a lot of target practicing, which it does seem like that was something that was very much a part of his upbringing, it seems that it's totally possible. And so he just doesn't think, it seems like Rob O'Neill just doesn't think that this guy could have done it on his own, and that this was something that was maybe a little bit more professional. Subclaim 2, people are saying that the wound appearance of Charlie and the shirt movement just doesn't fit with this guy being on a roof 175 yards away. So O'Neill disputes that the official narrative that the visible wound was an entry wound. He disputes that, claiming it looked like an exit wound based on his own combat experience. He said an entry wound doesn't look like that. He says video footage showing the neck wound and shirt movement just don't line up. He disputes the assertion that Kirk wasn't wearing body armor. He said bullets don't deflect that way. But we do know from Andrew Colvett that he was not wearing body armor that day. And Andrew Colvett said on September 20th in an X post, he said that he wants to address some of the discussion about the lack of an exit wound. He said, I just spoke with a surgeon who worked on Charlie in the hospital. He said the bullet absolutely should have gone through, which is very normal for a high-powered, high-velocity round. I've seen wounds from this caliber many times, and they always just go through everything. This would have taken a moose or two down, an elk, etc., but it didn't go through. Charlie's body stopped it. It was an absolute miracle that someone else didn't get killed. His bone was so healthy and the density was so impressive that he's like the man of steel. It should have gone through and through. It likely would have killed those standing behind him too. In the end, the coroner did find the bullet just beneath the skin. So even in death, Charlie managed to save the lives of those around him. Remarkable, miraculous. Now, some people just aren't buying that, but I don't have a reason not to buy that. I don't have any reason to doubt, of course, Andrew Colvett. I totally believe him, but then also what he's saying that the coroner said and that the surgeon said. And of course, I believe it's possible for God to do anything. And he's saying it's miraculous, and miraculous means that it goes beyond reason or even like the laws of physics. And so I have no reason to believe that this is untrue and that there was some other kind of wound there. And also, like, we've talked to people who were actually there, like Frank Turek. He saw the wound. He saw what happened. He was there. And I've talked to him, and many of you have seen what he has said publicly in describing exactly what happened. And I trust him. I trust Frank Turek, who has described the wound and what was going on in the car and how they were trying to stop the bleeding and all of that. And there's a reason why Charlie died so immediately. There's another claim here about the security failures that people just aren't buying. So this is sub-claim 3, security failures, rooftop oversight. O'Neill questioned why the rooftops weren't secured, especially after what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, with Trump. So here is our fact check on that. So Charlie's security team, as Turning Point has said over and over again, as I have experienced, because I've spoken at so many Turning Point events over the years, they're top notch. I've been to a lot of events with different levels of security, and I can tell you not every organization and not every event has the kind of security that Turning Point does. Every time I was at a Turning Point event, I would have 1 or 2 security guards with me at all times, from the moment I left my hotel room to on stage to walking around, no matter what, until I got into my car and I got on my way to the airport. I was covered by a security guard. Not every organization does that. They are like no nonsense guys. And again, I've seen all different levels, and they were always my favorite because I just knew that I was cared for. They weren't going to mess around, and you could tell that they were always assessing every threat. And man, that was times 100 for Charlie, which was their principal, the guy that they loved, the guy that they knew. If they were doing that for me, a random person, I'm telling you, they were on top of security for Charlie. Now, what happened in this case, according to Tyler Boyer, who, again, is the head of Turning Point Action, has been with Turning Point from the beginning, is that it was not a failure of Turning Point Security, who did everything that they possibly could to secure it. They had their own drone program. And actually, the city where this happened had their own drone program. But unfortunately, the drone was the drone idea, I should say, the drone proposal was shot down by the campus, not literally shot down, but they said, no, you can't use drones. Tyler Boyer said on X, we have our own drone program shot down by campus police. Orem Police has a state-of-the-art program. The question I have is why the campus police didn't use it. According to ABC News, Utah Valley University's outdoor courtyard where Kirk showed up on September 10th to debate students was surrounded by several tall buildings, leaving Kirk vulnerable. That was made all the more potent because campus police didn't fly a drone to monitor rooftops or coordinate with local law enforcement to secure the event. It deployed only 6 officers from a force that was already small for a campus its size. There were no bag checks or metal detectors. So obviously, there are a lot of things, a lot of steps that could have been taken. They could have said no outside events after Butler, Pennsylvania. They could have said, no, you're not allowing anyone into this area until they go through metal detector. The drone probably could have saved Charlie Kirk's life. And so there was a lot going on here, but Charlie had been in the Lion's Den in a lot of different places. He had been in much more progressive and dangerous places than this. So I don't know, maybe some, security, the local police, campus police, whatever, maybe they just didn't think that it was that big of a threat. They said that they didn't see any credible threats. Obviously, they were wrong about that. And that is part of why we are where we are today. I don't find this to be suspicious. Human beings are fallible. They make mistakes. They do wrong things. Maybe there were nefarious motives. I don't know. Behind the police forces there who didn't allow, or the campus police that didn't allow them to have the drone program. I don't know. But I don't think this is all part of some secret grand scheme that means that the suspect isn't really the suspect. Again, I'm just not seeing the connection there.